What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another episode here of Just Jets, episode 246. And today I want to get into a couple different things with you. First, want to talk about what it looks like the Jets are finally starting to look like based on just one game. But in that one game, looked like maybe this is what they're supposed to be this year. And of course, we want to get into your voicemails, positive vibes after a win, something that we haven't done on this show in a while. I know the win was on Thursday night, and that's almost a week ago now at this point. So the Thursday games always kind of put you in a weird spot. Usually this team plays on Sunday or Monday, and that is a lot easier to do this show. But still wanted to just kind of recap the week that was in Jets land and the vibes turning around. And that's basically my opening sentence is kind of where I wanted to go in this monologue. Is it's both a good thing and a bad thing that the Jets finally showed what they were supposed to in air quotes look like against the Houston Texans. The good is that that it's in there. We saw Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson excel in this offense. They were both excellent. Davante had his first big game as a Jet. Garrett Wilson had 2 unbelievable touchdown catches. Breece Hall, I thought, ran well in this game. The defense racked up 8 sacks. That's what the recipe was supposed to be this year. What makes this bad or makes this not so great is that it's game 9 of the season, and that was the first time that we saw it. Now, you're going to point to week 3 against the New England Patriots and go, well, actually, no, we saw this once already against the Patriots, the first time they played them. And I would argue, actually, no, that that wasn't the first time we saw what this team was supposed to look like for a few reasons. Number one, Robert Saleh was still here. They are different. They have a different coach. Number 2, there was no Hassan Reddick for that game. Hassan Reddick was always supposed to be here. And number 3, Davante Adams was not in that game. So 2 main pieces, one on offense, one on defense, and a different head coach. And part of me feels these are things that should have happened in the offseason. If you're going to fire, Robert Saleh, at week 5, after week 5, this is something that should have occurred during the offseason. That's basically what I said at the time too. I have no issue with the Jets moving on from Robert Saleh, but if they were going to have that quick of a hook, maybe it's something that should have happened in the offseason. The whole world knew that they wanted to trade for Davante Adams, had to wait till in-season. Had to wait for in-season as well to get Hassan Reddick in here. And both those guys, Hassan racked up a bunch of pressures in this game against Houston, and he doesn't even look like he's 100% back to the player that, he once was just yet. And for Davante, that was the first time that him and Rodgers really looked like on the same page. And that came in the second half. They had a huge second half together on the touchdown, on the 4th down play. It was impressive. And that was this team's plan all along was to have a guy like Reddick in here and have Davante in here to pair with a Garrett Wilson. And that's kind of where I'm coming to on this realization. And I don't want to turn this positive into a negative because I'm glad that they won this game, and I would like to see them continue to win football games. But my fear is that it's too little too late, that they waited essentially to week 9 to look like the version of this team that we all thought that they would be. And I hope they're able to repeat it the next couple weeks here, or really the rest of the way. Davante Adams was on with Kay Adams earlier in the week and was saying the light switch went on in the second half of this game, and that's how we're going to be the rest of the way. I hope that's the case. I really do, but I don't want to hear about it. I want to see it. And that's how I feel going into this game against Arizona this week. And I guess that's a good way to pivot it towards what this needs to be the rest of the way here is we saw it for the first time against a very good Houston team. I know they're banged up at wide receiver, but this is still a good Houston Texans team. And show me that you could do it again against the Arizona Cardinals, who are a lot better than people give them credit for. And that was a video I did on Monday of this week, talking about their rushing attack. They're top 10 in rushing this year. They went for over 200 yards against the Bears. They have a mobile quarterback. They have a really good tight end. These are things that could give this Jets defense a lot of problems, and they're going to have a very tall task. The Jets don't play well again in those conditions. They don't play well on the West Coast. They don't play well on the road. There's a lot setting up for, like, if this really is same old Jets, they're not going to win this game. They're really not. If they want to prove that that's not who they are, that the second half against the Texans is closer to what they are as a unit, they need to go out and they need to find a way to win this game and then win against the Colts that was, flexed out a Sunday night and put at 1:00 on a Sunday, and get yourself to 5-6 at the bye. Because if that's where you are, then maybe, just maybe, you could have the discussions of, all right, let's look at the playoffs. Then you have Seattle out of the bye and Miami after that. I just don't feel like I can, in good faith, say, oh, the Jets have, like, these are all these winnable games on the schedule for the New York Jets, because until they do this consistent enough, they have the ability to lose to any team in the league. They did it to the Patriots, and they have the ability to beat any team in the league as well, which they just showed against the Texans. And they did it in back-to-back weeks. Like, they lost in excruciating fashion to a team that isn't very good. They have a young quarterback, though, who's exciting in Drake May, but he leaves with injury, and you're letting, like, Jacoby Brissett drive on you deep down the field and, at the end of the game. And it's just like a gross, disgusting football game. And then in a second half against a good team, you score 3 touchdowns. You have 3 straight touchdown drives, and Rodgers throwing the ball all over the yard. What is this team? That's basically my question here, is what are you? And prove to me, please, what you are. I would love for this team to go on a run. 2016 Packers version of the New York Jets here. Get to 10-7 and make the playoffs. Hell, maybe even go 9-8 and make the playoffs. It'd be fun. It'd be a hell of a lot of fun. More fun than just, this team wins 3 more games the rest of the way this year, finishes 6-11 and has the 10th pick in the draft. Prove it. That's where I'm at, guys. I just want it to be proven to me. So with that, let's get into your voicemails and see where you guys are feeling after this week for the New York Jets. We'll start from Jake in Jersey, who wants to call out the offensive line.
Hey, what's up, Matt? Jake from Jersey.
What's up, dude?
Calling in the morning after. Good win against the Texans. A couple things. One, can't believe, the offensive line didn't look terrible considering that they had 4 tackles and a center. Kind of nuts. It was, I think, who was it? Mitchell, Moses,
Olu,
and then Shanu and Smith. That was like an interesting note. And then defense just looked so good, man. They let up a couple big plays here and there. A lot of them were on sauce, but defense looked great. I really liked the one. There was one set of I seen it a few times out there in pass rush when it was Reddick on one side, McDonald on the other, Quinton in the middle, and then the third guy would either be Solomon Thomas or whoever. That's a nice set. I'd like to see maybe Leonard Taylor in there instead of Solomon Thomas, but
Agree.
That was great. Looked like we collapsed the pocket anytime we did that, so that was nice. Offense looked pretty good in the second half. Really good, actually, in the second half. Garrett is unbelievable. But yeah, that was a good win. I think that was what we needed, to maybe spark something. So we'll see what happens. But go Jets.
Yeah, I hope that's a win that gets them back on track, like you were saying. I'm glad you mentioned the offensive line, because both Olu Fashanu and Max Mitchell were put in really tough spots, being asked to play guard, where both those guys are tackles. And Max Mitchell did it last year for the New York Jets, but Olu Fashanu has literally never done that in his entire life. Not at one point in his career at any level has he played the guard spot. And he came in, and I thought he did a really good job, considering the circumstances. I'm not going to say, like, oh, my God, like he's going to be a Hall of Fame guard one day. No, that was they did it in an emergency. Morgan Moses gave him praise. I love to hear the comments from Morgan Moses, and I thought Elijah Vera Tucker, being there in his street clothes and trying to help him out was was a really cool thing to see as well. But offensive line held up and did a good job down a couple of players on the interior, which is, again, not an easy task. So we'll see how that offensive line unit looks going into this game against Arizona. Still a little bit too early to tell. But I'm sure by either later today on Wednesday or Thursday, Friday, we'll have some ideas for how this is going to go. Vic from Florida is up next. Vic, what's going on, buddy?
Matty, Vic from Florida. We're back. It's like a bad drug, man. You say you want to kick it, and not that I'm into that stuff, but I'm all the way back in. Call me a fair weather fan. I call it tough love. Real quick, man, I just wanted to apologize for last week's call. I obviously meant no disrespect to you and your guys, your team's career. You, Green Bean, and Ryan, you guys kick ass at what you do. So I hope you didn't take it the wrong way.
No,
I was obviously
not at all.
I don't know how we can cover a team that's so putrid to watch, but up until the second half, it still remained true. We made some adjustments and we made some things happen, and I was hey, a win's a win. I say dumb shit when I'm upset. Excuse my French. Right? We all say dumb things, and we don't mean it. The Jets know we don't mean it. We're just tired of it. But real quick, man, couple positives. No delay of games. Hey, we got to play this. That was good. Brees looks pretty good behind that makeshift offensive line. Brees looks pretty good. Braylon Allen got some first downs when we needed him to do it. Devontae and G, that was probably one of the best catches I've ever seen in my life. That was impressive. Not to mention he was on my fantasy team. So was Aaron Rodgers. So and the Jets defense. So big win on my end. Another thing, we got to hold the guys accountable. I think that Corley,
that was dumb.
Rookie mistake, but I get picking him up on the sideline. Hey man, it's okay, but no, that's not okay. And even coach said that's unacceptable. The cat that hit the center on the field goal, unbelievable. They ended up missing it, but again, they pan him to the sideline and, hey, it's okay, buddy, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Rip him, right? That's unacceptable. We can't win football games where we're doing mental mistakes like that. Ahmad, he's a bum. Trade him. Get rid of him now before everybody knows that he's a fraud. What do you think, real quick? Your point on maybe some D-line help and some safety help, because if we're really going to make a run, which I believe we're going to do, what can we do defensively to help us and help stop the run and help bring us back to a top 5 defense? Anyway, man, appreciate what you do. Enjoy the weekend, brother. Enjoy the weekend with your fiance and your family, and I'm going to do the same with my wife and my kids. It's a good Friday. All right, man. God bless. J-E-T-S, Jets.
Thank you, Vic. So the only thing we see the Jets do is trade Mike Williams away, which I'm going to be honest, I don't love. I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is the worst decision in the world and I'm going to stop watching Jets football now. Like, it's not that level of bad, but the reasoning behind why I would have kept him is with Lazard on IR for the next couple of weeks. He's going to miss a handful of games, and either Malachi Corley or Xavier Gibson's going to come in and fill that role. Both of those guys are more slot receivers, and that means you're not going to be able to use Garrett Wilson out of the slot as much as what they were doing when you had Mike Williams who could put on the outside, or when you had Alan Lazard who could put on the outside. So that's going to be interesting to see how they adjust over these next at least 2 weeks, potentially more, depending on the injury for Lazard. With Sauce, he's had a really rough go of it this year, and I'm really frustrated with Sauce Gardner too. But I think he's playing hurt. And I go back to week 1 where he leaves the game, we don't really get a good reason, and like he's back and cleared but not on the field. And there were times in this game and other times throughout the season where it looks like he's slow to get up, or holding his ankle or something. And I've saw too much good from Sauce Gardner in his first 2 years, where he's the first team All-Pro, the only cornerback in NFL history to be a first team All-Pro in his first 2 years, for me to just be like 9 games into a third season and use those 9 games as outweighing more or having more weight than the first 2 years that he did. If it continues going this way, I don't think you can give him that big contract extension after this season. And who knows? Like, I'm not saying that there's a world where he can't get traded. If a new GM comes in here and they're like shaking things up and looking to move on from certain assets, and someone's going to give you the Jamal Adams trade package for Sauce Gardner, that's something that you might have to consider. But I'm not, after this year, like holding my Sauce Gardner ticket and be like, all right, please someone come take this because I think this guy just got exposed as a massive fraud. I don't think that's really the case. So that's really the only pushback that I'm going to give you there. Let's go to, I believe it's Jay Sean, breaks up a little bit from Syracuse.
Yo, it's Jay Sean from Syracuse. Yo, that was a crazy game. Roller coaster, to say the least. First half, thinking we was going to get smoked. Second half, man, listen. But I got 3 questions. First question is, do you think this game was more so one because of the players or one because of the coaches? Like, did we make an adjustment on offense? Did we give Todd Downing, his flowers for this 1 second half? Or is it on players, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers playing better? Also, Old Brick, with the defense playing great today, yesterday. 8 sacks, 4 fumbles, all in CJ Stroud's face. So next question is, do you think Garrett Wilson can turn around the season and have an all-pro season? Because I think if Garrett Wilson keep playing like this, he could be a top receiver in the league and prove Justin Jefferson wrong, saying he's not in that same caliber of player. I think Garrett Wilson can be. That's my opinion, though. And last question is Hassan Reddick. All those pressures that he got. Do you think having Hassan Reddick back, should we bring him back? Is what I'm saying. Like, you think we should bring him back along with Devontae? So that goes into the question. Do you think we should sign those guys back for next year?
Yeah, I think it's going to be dependent on if Aaron Rodgers is coming back or not. My feel is that he will be back. So I do think there's a chance Hassan Reddick comes back. I'd like to see it play out a little bit more than just the 2 games here with Hassan. Devontae, I do think, is going to end up being here. I put it more on the players to answer your first question. I know I'm kind of bouncing around here, but you asked if it was more on the players or the coaching, and I just think they executed better in the second half. I thought Rodgers was a little shaky in that first half. I didn't think he was playing with too much confidence. In the second half, played a lot better, played significantly better football, and the Jets had some breaks go their way, really impressive. But on Garrett, he's put up some sneaky, very good numbers after many were quick to call him just a wide receiver 2, after the first 4 games of the year. In my opinion, a little premature. Garrett Wilson on the year, 60 receptions, which is first in the NFL. Receiving yards, 618, which is third. Missed tackles forced, 13, which is tied for second. Yards after the catch, 262, which is sixth. 12 contested catches, which is tied for third. 5 touchdowns, which is tied for sixth. I don't have him in that Justin Jefferson type tier yet. I think he's right around the top 10 receiver in the league. And I think he's an ascending player. With him and Roger, like, he's on pace for 1,200 touchdowns. 1,200 touchdowns. Could you imagine? 1,200 receiving yards and I believe 9 touchdowns on the year. It'd be really cool to get a wide receiver up over 1,200 yards and maybe double-digit touchdowns too. That would be impressive. And then I don't know how anyone argues that he's not a wide receiver 1 after a season like that. Let's go to Dom from Long Island. He's back in, like many.
Matty boy, you got Dom from Long Island back. If you recall, I sent a voicemail last week saying that I might not be watching you or the New York Jets anymore this season, but obviously this team is like that ex-girlfriend that you just can't get rid of, and you just got to keep giving it another chance. And I was about to close the TV at halftime. I watched the first drive. Garrett Wilson, man, he's He's it, man. He's it. He's doing his job, and he's doing it very well. What a catch. What a night for him. Malachi Corley
Oof,
is
tough.
I see why he hasn't been seeing the field much, because that was an extremely immature play of him. I really, in all my years of watching, in all my years of playing, in all my years of just being around the game of football, or any sport in that matter, the early celebration, especially for someone like him who needed that opportunity, it's not good. It's not good, but listen, man, happy we got the win. Happy we were able to get it done. Let's keep rolling. Screw Arizona. Let's do it.
Absolutely. I hope that they continue to keep this thing rolling. I really do. They got to prove it. They got to prove it. And you're not alone with everyone back in. There's a lot of optimism going. And it's only one game. It's only one game. So that's why I'm trying to temper it. If they win again against Arizona, then I'm going to be really excited. I feel it. But it's so much better after a win than a loss, isn't it? Isn't that the case? That's the case for most people. But Jerome from Georgia is not happy. In fact, he wanted to see the tank. All right, so we're getting like a polar opposite view here.
Matt O'Leary, thank you so much for taking my call. This is Jerome from Savannah. Well, the Jets won on Thursday night. Praise Jesus! God bless America! 3-6, Matt. There's a 10% chance that a 3-6 team in the NFL will make the playoffs. In fact, it is lower. Most experts will tell you than that. So here we are again. When the Jets are out of the playoff picture, they turn into the New England Patriots with Tom Brady. They are absolutely unstoppable. And on a Thursday night when the Texans were banged up against the team if you look at it historically, the Texans, for whatever reason, have not done well against the Jets. This is what we're hanging our hat on. I'll even grant you, there have been some Jets fans saying that, well, I'm going to wait until they're 6-6 to, get excited about this team. Okay, so you're counting on that, first of all, how? Next week is a very, I would say, improved Cardinals team. Matt, I feel like we're just going to be in this position over and over again. The Jets, let's say the Jets actually rattle off a few wins and they get back to 6-6. So you really believe that, what, the rest of the way they rattle off 8 wins, that's going to be enough to make the playoffs? And then what's going to happen? They're going to be stuck with bad draft position again. And I'm somebody who never roots for the tank, but they've broken me. They have broken me. I want them to lose out. I want this Band-Aid ripped off. I want it blown up. Woody Johnson is not going to sell the team. I almost actually called you last week with this whole rant about what the Jets franchise is actually worth and, just the billions of dollars that the team is worth and how Woody Johnson is never, ever, ever going to sell the team. You'd be asking the petulant child to let someone else play with this precious toy. But in any event, look, the point is that I actually believe it would just be better. It would have been better if the Jets lost and continued to lose out. They'll rattle off a handful of wins, and they're just dumb enough. This team is just dumb enough to want to run it back next year with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams.
I may have been premature to say that everyone was back in this week. And to be fair, I'm not all the way back in either. If they get to 6-6 going into the Miami game, I'm feeling like that's when I could get myself to be like, all right, maybe this team can do it. But at the same time, it's so hard for me to sit here and be like, I want to see this team just lose out, go 2-15, and then what? It's not a quarterback heavy class. Although that's not necessarily would stop you from taking one if you end up that high, right? Like maybe that's what you do. but I kind of just want to see it play out. I'm more numb this year, which that's kind of how I feel I've ended up being most of the last few years. In 2020, I genuinely hated Adam Gase and just the direction where that team was, and there was not the same talent that was on that team that's on this one. So them losing games I was okay with. After that, it was like I kind of want to see their young quarterback or whoever it is build on some success. And last year at the end of the year, like, didn't really matter to me, win or loss. Like, just let it play out and see what happens. And that's kind of where I am right now. Let's let it play out. At least maybe I can meet halfway with Jerome and say, like, sure, I think if we're talking playoffs right now, it's a little higher than where you had it. NFL.com has it at a 27% chance. Playoffs right now seems a little bit premature, but I kind of just want to see this thing play out. Let's go to Peter from Hudson Valley.
Hey, man. My name's Peter from up in the beautiful Hudson Valley, calling in on this late Friday evening, trying to get my thoughts together completely after last night's incredible victory over the Texans that I found out about when I got up this morning. Just like you laughing in your post-game recap, I feel the same way. It's like, this freaking team.
Can't make it up.
I admit I'm not necessarily fully back in. I'm hopeful against, the Cardinals and the Colts in the next couple of games, but I did actually watch the first half on my phone. I was able to through NFL Plus, and considering that sloppy first half, I didn't think they were going to pull anything out. And injuries piling up, even though a lot of the guys on defense returned. I think the biggest issue right now is the 4-tackle combination offensive line we have going forward. Mitchell had to play left guard for Simpson, and Olu had to play right guard for Hansen. So that's an interesting thing. Maybe, with the next however many days off, 9 or so left before that Cardinals game, maybe AVT will be back. Maybe that'll help bolster the line. I just wanted to know your thoughts on how you thought that 4-tackle combination worked with Tippmann at center. I did, of course, see the second half highlights, and beautiful, beautiful catch by Garrett Wilson. I thought it was a catch the whole way, no matter how many times I saw it, how many angles I saw it from. To me, that was a catch. Great catch. Comparison, of course, to Michael Jordan's,
the jump man, baby.
And his jump thing. Jeez. It's pretty close. It's pretty damn close. So I hope the Jets can, string some wins together now. Maybe it's going to be the streaky Jets going forward. Who knows? Again, I'll try to continue to watch, but I'm not holding out any hope. But you never know with this team. Jekyll and Hyde. As always, go Jets.
Thank you for the call. As always, Peter, appreciate you. Yeah, watching the Garrett catch live, my initial reaction was, oh my, like literally just a slow, oh my God, I can't believe that he just caught that. And then when they rule him out, I was like, oh, that stinks that like this catch is going to be wasted because he came in out of bounds. And I didn't, until the replay came where it showed that his shin was down on that initial replay. And this is when I said, okay, wait, hold on a second here. But I'm not going to lie to you. My initial gut was, oh, that really stinks. This isn't going to count. But that was an unreal play. Why can't they do that every week? Peter and everyone else in there. Why can't they just do this every week? Why can't they put up 28 points a game and just be fun? They gotta drag it out and make us just make us suffer. It stinks. Huge game against Arizona. Huge game. We'll have the preview for that on Thursday, but don't overlook that team. That's going to be my advice to you now. I know a day early, but don't overlook that Arizona team. I think they're better than what we're going to give them credit for. Dove from Israel calls back in, and I'm starting to think Dove might be the problem here. He'll explain why.
Hey, Matt, it's Dove from Israel over here. So Thursday night was the first game in 10 years that I have not watched. I said, you know what? They suck. They're not good anymore. I can't do this. I'm going to sleep. And I'm not going to watch the game. And of course, I wake up in the morning and they won. So, who knows? Maybe we get something started from here. I mean, this team really is too talented to lose. To go 5-11, 6-10, 5-12, 6-11. So who knows? Maybe they have something in them. I know Rodgers in his last year in Green Bay had a bad start to the year and kind of rebounded and got better. They ended up, I think it was 9-8. So who knows? Maybe you can work some magic and see what happens. Go Jets.
I hope they force some magic like, Green Bay in 2016. Dove, you might be the problem, buddy. Joking, obviously, but it is ironic, right? That this moment we're like, all right, I can't do it with this team anymore. They win a game and then we're like, not so fast. Hold on. This might be something that they can actually pull off here, which would be fun. It'd be really fun if that's something they're able to do. I hope that's the case. Man, I don't think 11-6 is in play. I think they can get to 9-8. I'm just not convinced that 9 wins is enough. I hope so, though. Wouldn't that be a story? Let's close out with Travis, who's got an unbelievable idea for an outside-of-the-box general manager.
Hey, Matt.
What's up, buddy?
Travis from behind. Hey, buddy, we actually got a win this past Thursday. I can't say I watched it because I quit watching. But anyway, I want to throw positivity besides that into your universe. I figured it out. Our next GM, Theo Epstein. Hear me out. I know he's a baseball guy.
The baseball guy.
But he took the Bo Sox into the Cubbies and broke their curses. Ended their droughts, right? We bring him in the building. We get his mojo, his know-how, his analytics, whatever. He's smarter than me. He can figure it out. Anyway, we throw some of Woody's big pharma money at him, and we hire Theo as our GM, right? And then he's going to know the guy. He's going to do analytics on scouts and salary cap guys. So he's going to figure that out too, right? And he'll just figure it out. So I don't think he's been doing anything besides collecting checks and probably being successful at whatever he's doing. Anyway, we throw Woody's big pharma money at him. We hire him as GM. Then he also listens to this podcast, and Woody does too. And we hire Vrabel as head coach just because he's going to run gassers with Jameis Winston or freaking Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers and him share A.J. Hawk is a mutual friend. Rodgers ain't going to cross Vrabel. I mean, Vrabel's a beast. Anyway, Vrabel's going to take care of the culture as a head coach, and I know he's a defensive guy despite scoring some touchdowns as a tight end. But then you throw big pharma money at him and big pharma money at Bruce Arians and pull him away from his consultant job over at Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Because he doesn't take shit either.
No.
And he dealt with Brady and took him to the Super Bowl. And offensive mind. So, and then you let those guys, because they're football guys, fill out their staff because they know all the guys that network. They're still networking. Those guys can get it done. So, there it is. Theo Epstein, Vrabes, B.A.
Bruce Arians.
There's our guys. And they can...
Oh, they cut him off at the end. The 3 minutes was up. I love this plan. Travis, that's incredible. Maybe, you know what? If the Chicago Cubs and the Boston Red Sox can end their curse, then so can the Jets. And honestly, I've been thinking about this too a little bit. And this is a little bit more on the football serious side. If the Detroit Lions do something this year, I think that would finally get me to be like, all right, like I think the Jets could do something eventually. Because that team, for most of my life, was just like the bottom of the bottom. Same thing with the Browns. It was the Jets were not in that same category, at least for the first half of my life. Second half of my life, very different story. But the Lions had the winless season. They didn't make the playoffs for like the first almost 10 years I was watching football. They went from 1999, they lost in the wild card round, to 2011 for making the playoffs. So they went the entire 2000s without making it. And then they lost in the first round, so they didn't win a playoff game in 11, 14, 16. They finally won a playoff game in 2023, which is their first playoff win since 1991. That's an insane stretch. So if the Lions can do it, maybe the Jets can too. And that's where we'll leave off on this episode. Guys, I appreciate you. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe here if you're new. I'll catch you next time.